Thank you very much for the introduction. It is a great pleasure to be here. This is probably very much unlike what we had in the morning, the engaging talks on the situation of the refugee crisis right now inside and outside the European borders. I was invited to deliver a personal statement on the experience I have had living the life of a refugee for the last over 7 years of my life. I left Iran over 7 years ago. To be exact, 7 years, 2 months, 3 weeks, and 5 days ago. The answer is no. I do not sit there and calculate the days every single day. It is just last night, I was thinking about what a long way I have come. And it definitely feels much longer than 7 years. Sometimes I question myself whether it is not exaggerating to say it feels like 70 years, but there are definitely episodes in the past 7 years of my life living as a refugee in Germany that definitely feel like 70 years of experience. Anyway, as I said, I am from Iran. I was a junior professor of English language and literature, and I was apolitical. And during the 2009 debated presidential elections, I got involved in a highly politicized case of mistaken identity. Another Iranian woman with a name similar to mine was shot to death on the streets of Tehran during the protests. And then, due to the name similarity that we had, I assume, I was mixed up with her in the way that somebody, probably a journalist or somebody from the press, took my photo from my Facebook profile, here we go, and before I knew it, it was published worldwide as the face of that woman. So before I knew it, my face was the face of the Iranian freedom movement, which means within a matter of days, I was targeted by the Iranian Security Service and Secret Service, who wanted to use this mistake on the side of international media to claim that the death of that woman that was filmed and published worldwide was fabricated, was a fabrication of the West against the national security of the Islamic Republic of Iran. I found myself in this unbelievable situation, and I decided I could not really cooperate by saying that I am her and I am alive and the rest of the story is a lie. I did not cooperate, and which means that the Secret Service turned against me and charged me with treason against the national security of the Islamic Republic of Iran, a sentence or a charge that can potentially end in capital execution. In a matter of 12 days, I went from being a silent scholar of literary studies to a person who was charged with treason and had to literally run for her life. With the help of friends, I left Iran with no backup plan, with no idea what was happening or what I was doing. And I found myself a couple of days later in Germany seeking political asylum. Before that, I had never known anybody who has had a similar experience of seeking asylum or being a refugee. So I did not really know what was happening to me. I just with the help of people, Iranians in the city of Bochum, where I had landed, I went to the office and applied for asylum. I was sent to a camp where I was registered. I waited for, I think, 58 days before I had my hearing, which was sort of an interview I had with an official who would decide whether my case was eligible for asylum in Germany. After that, I had to wait another 6 months. These numbers that I'm giving here are ridiculously luxurious right now, where people are waiting for years to just get their hearing, what I had in a matter of 2 months. But I was asked to just talk about my own experience, and here it is. So I had to wait another 6 months before I was granted asylum, which meant welcome to the German society. And so altogether, I had lived a little bit over 8 months at a refugee camp. And I was waiting for the day where I would be recognized as a refugee, and then I could go out and just start a new life and everything will be fine again. But then when I really had the decision, just so the official paper that yes, you're recognized as a refugee, and just these are your rights and these are the things you can do in the coming days. So you have the right to learning the language, you have the right to health insurance, you have the right to just to an apartment, and you have the right to this and that. That was receiving that decision, which was something I had been anticipating for 8 months, was one of the scariest moments, because right at that moment, I realized how empty the life of me as a refugee was. Because up until that point, I had been waiting for something, waiting to be recognized, waiting for the doors to open. But once the doors opened, there was nothing behind them. I didn't know anybody, I didn't know the language, I didn't have any relatives, and I really didn't know what to do with my new life. I started learning language. I had already started that beforehand, but I systematically started learning language by going to language classes. I wrote down just my memories and experiences in form of a book, but just these were the things that I was just trying to do just to survive the depression and the emptiness and the alienation that the life of a refugee brings. So then it was a very lucky coincidence in 2011 that I was nominated for a fellowship by Scholar Rescue Fund organization, just a sister organization to Scholars at Risk, and CARA, which is a UK-based organization, also mentioned this morning. The mission of Scholar Rescue Fund is to protect and provide a second opportunity, academic opportunity, for scholars who are living either under persecution in their own home countries, or are living in exile, like in my case. So I used that opportunity. I used the fellowship I had received from Scholar Rescue Fund. I went to the United States, and I was there for 1.5 years. And then I had to come back to Germany for residence permit reasons. So my work contract was renewed for a 2nd year, but German authorities said that they would withdraw my residence permit in Germany, and I would basically become a stateless person, which is why I returned to Germany, relocated to Berlin, where I am still just based, and Freie Universität, Free University of Berlin, or Freie University of Berlin, hosted me. When I look back, I look at the immense and magnificent change that the fellowship from Scholar Rescue Fund brought to my life. It refocused, it gave me focus, it gave me purpose, and it gave me an orientation. As just Professor Schillit mentioned, now I am working as an external coordinator of the Germany chapter, or the German section of Scholar Rescue Fund, in cooperation with Philip Short's initiative, which will be introduced tomorrow. Many people have asked me, why I chose to leave academia and join the administrative work that the Scholar Rescue Fund does. First of all, that is not true. I'm still in academia. I'm still a researcher at Freie Universität. But yes, that is true. I have decided that I would like to work in missions or in organizations that do the work similar to the work Scholar Rescue Fund does. The reason for that is just the hope that Scholar Rescue Fund and the fellowship from Scholar Rescue Fund brought to me and to my life as a refugee. And I think if I can be instrumental, no matter how small, in bringing that change and in bringing that hope to the life of another scholar who happens to be a refugee or not under persecution, that would be, for me, very meaningful on a personal level. So when I think about hope, when I think about human rights, for me, these two are the same. I would like to finish on an episode that I had back in 2015, December 2015. I was in New York City for a conference, for an academic conference at Columbia University. And at the end of the conference, when I was returning to Germany, I was returning to Berlin, for the first time in 7 years, when I took my seat and I sat down and before the plane taxied off, I realized that for the first time in 7 years, I was excited about going back, because for the first time I had the feeling I'm going back home. And this was such a moment. I wanted to shake the ladies next to me. I turned around, she was already asleep, so I couldn't share that magnificent experience. But, you know, this is exactly, for me, what lies at the heart of human rights. For me, hope and home, not just a place where you live, but just a place where you belong and you look forward to going back to. That's a basic human right, and I'm very happy and thankful for the initiative here to help people like me, not just necessarily scholars or academics, but also human beings who are dislocated. Thank you very much.